Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 15th of June, comes to you from London. And we start the week with a sea of red here in stock markets, and so a lot of negative sentiment, and we're seeing that in some commodities as well. So that negative sentiment is pretty much across the board. We are seeing the dollar recovering just short term against its basket of currencies. This is the dollar index, of course. So we've had this down trend of several days, now just been reversed the last few days. So we're seeing a little bit more bullish outlook on the dollar, which is of course leading to the euro looking more bearish against the dollar, having had a really great run the last few weeks. And if we look at the dollar yen chart, we see here we're sitting at 107. That's looking more bullish as well on that short-term chart. Sterling sitting at 125, so just a little bit weaker against that stronger dollar in a downtrend there. And against the euro, we're seeing sterling also weaker, so sterling not doing as well, and against the Swiss franc 119, so we've broken below that 120 level. We have seen against the Aussie dollar, sterling actually doing better. The Aussie dollar has looked stronger against sterling, so this is actually sterling falling against the Aussie dollar, but we are just seeing that the risk sentiment coming back, so the dollar has been just a little bit harder hit there. Bitcoin falling back quite significantly now, back to the sort of 9,000 level, so just couldn't break the 10,000 level convincingly, so that's looking more bearish on the short-term chart. The S&P 500 index, we had quite a big week down last week. We see this big candle, almost a bearish engulfing candle there on the weekly chart. And on the 60-minute chart, we are just into territory which is starting to look bearish. No clear downside targets yet, but all of these sell-offs will ultimately produce downside targets, so we just have to watch those if you're looking at your point and figure charts. Remembering this is my long-term, my medium-term, and my short-term view. Looking at the NASDAQ, we fell away here as well in the week. Not such a big weekly candle to the downside, and just holding on maybe a little bit better than the broader market. And the Dow was also down, but up on 2% on Friday. But on the week, we saw again this almost bearish engulfing candle. We're seeing the futures down this morning significantly. The S&P future down 1.8%, the NASDAQ down 1.6%. So we are looking set to open lower there, and already in Europe we're seeing markets down about 1.3%, mid caps in the UK down 0.75%, the DAX down 1.4%, so we're looking weaker there, and also the CAC 40 looking weaker at down 1.3%. The Japanese market is down 2.6%, so we're seeing lower there, and the Hang Seng index down 2%. So really quite a big sell-off across the board. China demand we're seeing here just down 1%. It's slightly dampened on the Chinese sell-off, and India down 1.3%. The Aussie market badly hit, of course, being a resource economy, down over 2%. Looking at the gold price, we're seeing was at 17.14, so we're just seeing a little bit of a sell-off there, some downside targets. So in this sort of sentiment move, we're seeing even gold being hit, but that's normally a beneficiary. Longer term still looking bullish, of course. Silver looking a little bit more bearish in the short term, with downside targets about 1.3, 1.4% lower. US 10-year yield sitting steady at 1.68%. Just really very little change across the board. We see a little bit of a jump ahead of the Fed last week, but came back to that level, so quite significant. And if we look at German bond prices, they're ticking up this morning just slightly. But we're seeing a steady uptrend there in bond prices. Bond yields falling, bond prices rising. Just looking at the tech majors, Apple just holding on to its all-time high, but and still bullish on all three time frames. Amazon, of course, also in that same place, and Google just starting to look a little bit more bearish there, and Microsoft just pulling back significantly last week, but holding its bear trend on all three levels. Remembering that Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft make up a third of the NASDAQ in terms of the weighting. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we've got Brent crude falling away this morning. We've got this descending triangle potentially building. We do have some downside targets, but on the 1 minute chart, not such a clear picture. If we look at WTI Here the picture is a little bit clearer. Downside targets to $33 there. And again, don't forget to change your box sizes here to look for different target levels. And we have got this $33 level there, so that's quite significant. A new target this morning to $38, but we'd have to move above 36 to activate that. US NatGas looking more bearish, just struggling in this recovery. We do have downside targets to mid 160s. Coal coming back to test its lows, just coming back through the cloud there. And emissions down 1% this morning, breaking back below the 22 euro mark and into bearish territory with downside targets there, so not looking as good. NBP is our only bullish call this week in the energy mix. It's breaking to new highs, and we do have upside targets here looking more interesting. And again, we've got good upside targets. So NBP has turned the corner. And if we look at TTF, not quite yet into that bullish mode as much as MBP. We need to break that €6 mark, but it does look like gas prices in Europe might be turning a corner. And we look at summer gas, we see here we're up 0.8%, not quite into bullish territory here, but the attrition is starting to flatten there on gas prices. German power down 1% this morning, back into bearish territory. It looks like we're going to pull back before we rise. We still do have this downside and upside target. Which one will win? Does look like ultimately we might see the bottom, but for now we do have some downside targets this week. So expect a bad week in the energy mix. It's just going to be a tough week ahead. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.